Transviewers
Hello.
again. Oh my God, this week we've got an incredible, very, very nice theme, which means being aware of the image we impart on others. I think that is a very interesting theme for all of us. So, Christian, you go ahead, please.
Uh, Thank you, Ella. I would love to go first. Um,
Sure you do.
so yeah, I am aware of the image that I impart on others, and it took a couple years for me to grasp that. Like when I was a kid, I didn't really understand the importance of that. Um, I used to like be around guys, and they'd say like, "Oh, I don't care about like what I come off as," or maybe they're wearing like clothes that are maybe offensive with logos that have like the middle finger on there, or baggy clothes, or maybe their hair is like all messed up and stuff, and even like the attitude, the energy that they come off as. Like I would see, like when I was in the beginning of my transition, I would see like the way that they would act, and I would kind of pick apart like things that I liked and things that I didn't like. And um, the way that some of the guys that I used to have in my life, as friends or peers, um, sometimes I would see certain things that just didn't resonate with me. And then I started to educate myself about the importance of like a commanding presence. And what I learned was that, um, like I guess I could explain it better in an example, but um, in every aspect of my life, I've noticed that there's a certain effect that I want to have on the um, person or people around. We all wear different hats for different areas of our lives. So, like when I go into my job, I want to be seen as a professional. I want to be embraced as someone that is trustworthy. You're going to give me the keys to lock up the house or the storefront, then I got to be trustworthy. And I want to project that. I want to embody that. I want to have the attitude that is consistent and reliable, and people can look to me and know that things are going to get handled. Know that I'm going to uphold my integrity. And one of the best ways, especially like as a guy, like I know that science says that guys are very visual. Well, amongst other guy friends, I like to always, with my posture, I stand straight up. I don't hunch over, because if body language and psychology, they say that it's a sign of like low self-esteem, and that one little tiny thing such as posture can invite other people to recognize, almost like how a predator would to their prey, like, oh, that's weak, so it's an easy prey, so that they can attack and they can get. So it's not just a I want respect thing, it's also a safety measure as well. So the way I come off, when I go into a relationship or I'm dating somebody, I want the person to see me. I mean, I always am going to develop myself so that it is a legitimate thing, but I also want the person to perceive me um, like I'm competent, like I have, intelligence, that I'm, fun to be around, I'm loose, I'm, confident. And so I want to go into that situation with a particular image, and I want to show up and they can look at me and say, oh, I'm proud to be around this person. So I'm going to smell nice. I'm going to make sure that my fingernails are kept right. I'm going to make sure that I go there and I meet that person with my hair well done, and look them in the eye and let them
You
know
gotta
that,
have hair to do your hair nuts.
well, I did have a whole bunch of hair when I cut my hair. It was in the garbage.
Just teasing.
I was considering making a wig, but I'm just kidding. But like that's and I see girls too, like when they show up to a date, like they are always like they're dressed up, they smell really nice, and a lot of times they smell like fruity. I don't know if that's a thing, like girls always smell like fruit. And
Well, fruit is edible.
And then I've seen girls that not particularly like I want to date them, but like I'll be working alongside of them, and I respect the shit out of them. Like they are the most professional, competent, like, and they show up, they look in the eye, they, like they there's a lot of things about the way that they come off that I see leader, and that's their if that's what their goal is to be a leader. Like it is so effective. I it leaves me with an impression that lasts after the job is over. So it's like, what impression do you want to impart on other people? I want people to perceive me and experience me as someone that is. There's so many parts to it, but whatever particular thing that I am engaging in, there's a certain outcome that I want, and there's like a image that's paired with that, and there's an attitude, there's a inner confidence that needs to be paired with that, and that's what I try to do. So if anybody wants to speak on that, I have more. I could just go on, so just take it from me.
That's absolutely great. But I just like to make a very important point. Being a transgender woman and, fully transitioned, I think it is very clear that we have to understand that everybody has got the right to of his own image. And there is no stereotyped image in a transgender. Some people, they want to be, very feminine. Some people want to be less feminine as transgender women. It is absolutely up to you. It is your choice, and everybody has to be 100% respected. I think that is one very important when we talk about image. For me, if I might say so, I'm a professional woman. That means that I usually travel for my job. I travel, I travel to very, very homophobic and transphobic places. So for me, it's important that I pass and that I make somehow a very professional image to the people that I work with. So and that is nothing to do with transgender. That has something to do with my job and my position and my work. So I always try to pass and to be respectful, very respectful, because I know that my job requires that. That is the requirement. On my free time, I may not use, the nice, beautiful things that one usually uses for business. A business attire is something important for my daily working position. In my private, I can do whatever I want. But in my business, attire is important. When you have a meeting, you've got, 7, 8 people in the same room. They will look at you, and unfortunately, it's like men look at women, and they look at women very much at how beautiful, how they present, how they smell. That is always something important for men and for your business partners. If you don't present in my business, if you don't present, correct, it's not beautiful. I'm not in the fashion business. It's not, I don't have to be absolutely top fashion, but I have to be respectful and correct. And this is the image that I really try very much to portray when I go out. It's my business. It's my living. As well, when I am in, I get invited to very fancy parties. Of course, you try to go according to the party rules. If it's a white party, we're white. If it's a red party, you add red. But if it is a very high class party, you try to put some kind of, nice attire, expensive attire. Thank God I don't go every day to those. But you just have to be to make your image. And your image is you. Your image is the way that people perceive you. It's so freaking important. But everybody has got the right um, to have their own image. We, in our transgender community, sometimes we like to be critical, but we shouldn't be. Everybody's got their own rights. So that is what I think it's very important. I see, Raji, you are laughing. What?
No,
What?
I'm smiling. I'm listening to you, and I love everything that you and Christian said. Um, so, image has always been important to me, and that encompasses, well, my vibe, my essence, my persona, my personality, my content of character, how I interact with people. It also involves my hygiene. And even as a little kid, I remember, like, I had just certain particular things I had to do to myself to feel comfortable and feel like, okay, I'm ready for the world type thing. And I remember my mom would be banging on the door, like, what is taking you so long in that bathroom? Because I just had to do certain things to feel good, like to feel good and feel ready. And so that's been throughout my whole life, all the different images I've had, from when I was that little feminine little boy to then the teenager when I was like androgynous, and then, eventually becoming a trans woman, and living as a transgender woman. What I realized though is for a long time, it was about like doing it for other people in my consciousness. And there would be times where no matter how together I was, people still talk shit. And I remember myself saying, like, damn, like I smell good, I'm clean, like, my makeup is good. I took like, a couple hours to get myself ready and they're still criticizing me. And then eventually it hit me. I said to myself, I do all of that for me. Okay. And yes, hopefully it commands a certain thing, but I just want to like convey that don't be dependent on like other people's views of you, because sometimes even though you put it all together and you think you're commanding a certain way, people are going to have their opinions, and maybe their opinions aren't what you intended. So as long as you're doing it for you and you feel good, like in the morning, I have to wash my hair every morning, wash and condition it. If I don't, I feel dirty. Like if I wash from here, well, from my face down, and I don't do my hair, it's just, I don't feel right. So I know in order for me to feel hygienically ready for the world, I have to wash and condition my hair. Even if it's a quick one, I have to do it. And, I have a routine that I prepare myself physically to make me feel good and ready for the world. But then also, I work on like my inner self, and like whether it's saying a prayer. I mean, for me, prayer and meditation is so important. And if I don't pray, like and let me tell you, you don't have to take hours to meditate. I mean, it could be as short as a couple minutes. Just taking out time to kind of like, center yourself and really tap into your inner self, and pray or meditate or whatever. And it doesn't even have to be that. You can listen to great music that lifts your spirit, or watch something on TV that makes you laugh and makes you feel good. So besides the outside, I have to really nurture my inside. And then of course, diet, have breakfast. All of that is a part of, preparing your image, your essence for the world and for what you want to command, But most importantly, remember that you're doing it first and foremost for yourself. And as long as you know that you're putting your best foot forward for you and you've done your very best, then that's all that really matters. And the rest will fall into place. There will be people that see you for what you're trying to command, and respect you for that. Ella?
Absolutely. Yeah, so right, Raji. Yeah, it is really important. Bonnie, what are you telling? What are you?
Oh, okay.
Hi, Bon Bon.
Hey,
Hey,
Miss
Bon.
Movie Star, 2 movies she's in now, along with all the other stuff that she does.
Who are you
Go,
talking
girl.
about?
Go, girl.
Thank you.
Our international actress. Everybody
Yes.
loves her.
They just know how to ego stroke me. See, I guess it's all working, y'all. I'm commanding, I'm getting what I wanted to command. So
That's what it comes up to me.
yeah. Oh, thank you.
But who am I?
Anyway, what I was going to say is that I was in sales, okay? And I always got there 5 or 10 minutes early. When I pulled up in my truck, it was washed and cleaned and looked very presentable. When I walked into the house before that, I did my visualization. And it doesn't take long, a few minutes, a couple deep breaths, saw myself going in there, saying hello, giving the customer a compliment, and basically feeling good about myself, see myself sitting down, see them signing the contract and giving me a check, and then see myself walking out to the car and patting myself on the shoulder and saying, good job. All right, that's a concept, but when I did the programming, the self-hypnosis, cyber hibernate, whatever, there's a million different names for it. The key is what I'm trying to say is I programmed myself subconsciously that when I went in there, how I would feel, how I would conduct myself, how I would be. Now, if a curveball is thrown at me, sometimes it's much easier to deal with that curveball because subconsciously I've already seen theoretically what I want it to go and how I want it to go. So I will respond. Now, I know we've all heard the book, I'm okay, you're okay. Well, if you don't like yourself, others aren't going to like yourself. Well, if you feel good about yourself, you're clean, you do visualization, you try to look, listen, I wouldn't go on a sales job with my pockets ripped on my shirt or big holes in my pants or dirt all over me. I mean, what I'm trying to say is I went in there looking professional. I conducted myself professional. I felt good with me, who I was. So people subconsciously, whether you realize it or not, they pick up on things. So if you're aware that people are going to pick up on things, what you need to do is be aware of those things. Dress, tone, even your voice.
Yes.
You can go in there and sound like an idiot, or you can go in there, like, not to get to, I used to always go and say to people, I'm not here to try to sell you anything. What is it that you need? And I will try to help you to get exactly what you need. And along the way, I will educate you about different options. Not that you have to do it and not that I'm pushing it, but I went in there and I told the people that I felt I was an educator, not a salesperson. So I went in there with the approach to educate. And as a result, I usually walked out with a contract. I was like an 80%. And I'm not sitting here to stroke myself, but 80% is really, really high in the air conditioning business. I mean, I never knew anybody that could do that, but I was trans and I was this and I was that. Well, I presented well. I felt good with myself. I conducted myself as a professional. I gave off all the things the way I wanted people to perceive me. Yes, I'm sure a lot of them knew I was trans or figured out or what the hell's wrong with this person, but I still closed the deal. So what I'm saying is when you go into a situation feeling good about yourself, feeling positive, feeling like you're a can-do person, your odds of being a can-do person are probably a hell of a lot better. That's my 2 cents.
And Bonnie, you're absolutely right. Acceptance starts with yourself. And that is the most important thing. Absolutely. Jimmy, your turn.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Well, okay, this is a very interesting topic, and I've heard some really cool stuff so far from everybody. And we're talking about the image we impart on others. And what is our self-image? I think for me, my image, my outside is a visual representation of my inside. So I live my life in such a way that I consider myself a pretty disciplined individual. You know, if I'm doing laundry and my socks don't match up, you know, I go on a full-on mission to find that lost sock. Because in my life, it's more than just a lost sock. If I can't manage my socks, I'm not going to be able to balance my checkbook or let alone run my business. So how we do anything is how we do everything. And also in my life, I'm into fitness, and I know when I'm on the street or I'm engaged with other people, or you're in a grocery store and you see somebody who's physically fit, there is a instinctive interpretation or perception we have of that person, that if you have the wherewithal to go to the gym every day and watch your diet and pay attention to your life and be mindful of your choices, that shows self-discipline. And then that Bonnie was talking about her presentation to her customers. Well, same in any case, when we're engaged in and communicating with other humans, our physical presence is usually the first thing that people see. And then what Raji was talking about is the second thing people pick up on is our essence. Raji used the word persona. I love that word. That's our aura. That's the energy that we emit. So before we even say our first word, people are sizing us up. Maybe not consciously, but subliminally. You know, you see someone and your mind just kind of figures out what's going on with them. And this is all based on physical appearance and aura. So I wrote a few things down here. Our image. So our image we export on others. Well, is it image, influence, or impression? So I think all those words could be they're interconnected. And like I said, there's three components. There's our physical, our spiritual, and our intellectual. So that people see us, they feel us, and then they hear us. So it's a combination of those three entities that we present ourselves to others. And getting back to the fitness part of it, I don't know who said this, but this is how I live my life. My body is the vehicle for my mind, and I like to ride in a fine carriage. And that, I think, is kind of sums up what we're talking about here. Bonnie was talking about self-confidence. You know, Aristotle once said, you learn how to play the flute by playing the flute. You know, I'm in the tree trimming business, and I remember the first several hundred sales presentations I made to folks maybe didn't go too well. But the more you do something, the better you get at it, if you work at it. And I just wanted to close with one thing. I was in the Marines, and in Marine Corps boot camp, the Marines spend a lot of time on presentation. You see a Marine, you see any Marine anywhere, their uniform is pressed, their grooming is immaculate, the uniform is immaculate, the boots or the shoes are shining, the belt buckle is is shining, and then the person, the human, is shining, because it's all a big package deal. You know, if you feel good about yourself when you actively engage in polishing your sword, meaning self-improvement, and you take the time to iron your clothes and proper grooming, I think that Raji was talking about, these things present to the world, you know, like you care. I care. I care about myself, and therefore I care about those around me. And I want to present a image, a projection to folks that, especially being transgender, I have to hold myself to a higher bar. There's a certain standard from which I live my life. And you will never see Jimmy not in shape. You will never see Jimmy not squared away. I always try to have my act together. And then so that's the standard from which I live my life. And that's the image or the message that I want to send to those around me. And then by doing so, all ships rise in high tide. We can all be, I think there's a word on social media called influencer, to be an influencer, you know, so try to influence others to do the same. If I can keep my shit together, well then, so can you. Ella.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. I think it is a it's very nice what you just said. Yeah, and try to be an influencer. We all try to be influencers, right? But you know, you talked something about uniform, and you know, when you have a uniform, of course, everybody wears the same thing, but the difference is on how tidy it is, how beautiful it's presentable, how gray it goes out of the uniformity. When you don't have a uniform, you know, you've got more to search for, but it's as well more difficult to find the clothes that fit your inner self, that justify everything. I think it's very important that, and what you told Jimmy, you have to present outside what you are inside, and that is so beautiful. It's really important.
I think what Shannon was saying was it's a lot about frame of mind. I believe Shannon sees herself a certain way because that's where her mind is, and it's a frame of mind, and she does what she needs to fulfill that frame.
Absolutely.
I love the idea about, you know, the whole thing of like our bodies right now in this realm is the house to our soul. So don't you want your house clean? Like you want your house to be, you know what I mean? It's like, this is where we are right now. And so you want to have a clean house. And let me tell you something, it takes effort. You can't be lazy and expect to like, well, at least I can't, because I have a routine in the morning. And if I get lazy about it, things aren't going to be the way I want them. So what I'm trying to say is you have to put effort into it. And not only physical, but, you know, also nurturing your spirit. And I love what Bonnie said, that I call that pre-paving. Louise L. Hay uses that terminology where you, before you're about to do something, you already in your mind, you play it out the way you want it to play out. And that's powerful. I've done that quite a number of times, and it's very powerful.
That sounds really great. But I think your idea about cleaning your own house, which is your own body, I think it's a beautiful idea. Just be careful what you use.
Honey, for me, I need the Arm and Hammer. I need the Ajax.
No, I wanted to say about how you said, Raji, the inference about the house. You know, it's like, yeah, when you have a house and you're gonna bring guests over, how do you want them to treat that house? You know, like, do you want to have like, I mean, when I go to a big city or there's a dumpy, you know, if you go to the dump, you just, you know, and you have a banana peel, are you gonna go to the garbage can and throw it out? No, the dump is right here. I'm just gonna throw it on the ground. So if I go into someone's house and it's like, if someone comes in my house and there's cigarettes all over the ground and it stinks and there's garbage everywhere and there's clothes all on the ground and I got stains all over the wall. Like, if
Just like,
somebody drops a drink on the floor, is it really that big of a deal?
right.
I mean, that person disrespects their house every day. So is it that big of a deal to disrespect their house coming from me? And that's kind of like, I think this topic also touches on, like, if I go out in the world and I show that I really love myself, I care about myself, and internally, it's going to reflect externally through the way I come off. Now, I'm not saying you have to have Prada or Gucci or a $500 haircut or gold on your fingernails when you get your nails done. No, that's not the point. But what I am saying is, like, do you speak with your tone of voice with respect? Do you,
Yeah.
you know, ring, way we, do we have a whole bunch of, spaghetti sauce all over our shirt from last night when we're going to go, to an important meeting?
Yeah.
Did you brush your teeth and
Did they brush their teeth? And
scrape your tongue?
people. It's like the influence we have on people.
Yeah.
If we're going to expect to be leaders, just like how Jimmy said, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. The burden of the heavy is the head that wears the crown. So if people want to be leaders and they want to have influence and they want to be, provokers of thought, and they want to change things in our culture and make things better, we have to take on the sacrifice, the mentality. We have to take on that challenge. It's and I get I almost get like the hives when I start to see my haircut get out of whack, when I have nails that are dirty and there's dirt underneath of them. And then what if an opportunity comes where I meet somebody that could present me a job opportunity? I could really make some impactful change and an opportunity, but they see I'm so dirty, they don't want to give it to me because it would be an embarrassment to what that company stands for. So I think about all these types of things.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Chris.
No, I was just gonna say something silly about, like, or maybe a pretty girl, like.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be with a girl that's all dirty and stuff either, like.
Oh.
That's the way it is. I mean, some people might like that, if you smell bad, that's what they're attracted to. Who knows? Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a very important presentation of a person, and very clean, very good, smelling good, talking right. It's so important.
And where you see that a lot? You see it in positions of authority, like with police officers and military people. They always well, for the most part, certain, they're pristine, their image, and that invokes like a sense of respect. Like when if you saw, let's say a police officer showed up and his shirt was out and his shoelaces were untied and just looking very unkept, like the respectability, you think like, what the hell's wrong with this officer? So I think people like that, that's a good example of like how image really plays an important role in how they command themselves and how people react and respect.
And I have to say, in my case, it's it depends as well what you do, and we don't have a uniform. But for example, if I go and visit a dam, because it's part of my business. Oh, I don't go with the same clothes as I go for a night out for on the town. It just has to adapt to what you're doing.
Yes.
That is so very important. You're going to be judged within 1 second. Less than 1 second, people judge you by your appearance.
Soon as you walk in the door, it's like you can feel it. People are already sizing you up. It doesn't matter what profession you're in, and who you are. Yeah.
And
Hey, Bonnie. Go ahead, Ellen.
It's what you want to portray. It's the way you want to portray. Yep.
I have a quick question for Bonnie, and then I'm over. But I wanted to ask Bonnie, what was the I know that when you used to box, you know, a lot of people respected you, but that it wasn't it, you know, I mean, like how you said, oh, you know, I was in sales and I had to pitch all these sales to people, and but I'm trans. I think that sometimes probably like, you know, in a couple of years ago, I probably thought that like, you know, 100 times a day, like I accomplished this, but I'm trans. How's that possible? But I still managed to have a whole bunch of people in my college come up to me and shake my hand and look me in the eye and say that they respect me. I had a whole bunch of people on my track and field team look me in the eye and say, wow, you really, you earned my respect. What was the way that you carried yourself when you were, you know, dealing with all these other people that were in a sport where they could hurt you, and you still managed to be one of the top people that they look to?
Well, to answer that question, when I was in the ring and I was boxing, and it's crazy to understand, but I was all woman. I mean, I danced and I moved and I floated like a butterfly, but I stung like a wasp. Anyway, I went into my own world. Now you got to remember, I was physically fit beyond comprehension. I one time went 15 rounds with 5 different sparring partners and lost 18 pounds in one sparring session. But for me, even though I was in such a violent type situation, I didn't feel the violence like you think that a macho guy would feel. I mean, don't misunderstand. I was never knocked down ever. And what I'm just trying to say is I responded in like, if they were very aggressive, I was very aggressive. If they tried to hurt me or knock me out, I tried to hurt them or knock them out. But as far as me internally, I associate, you know, when you're a mother and you have a child and somebody's picking on your kid and you go over there and say, leave my kid alone. Well, when I was in the ring, it was like this kid, that guy that I'm boxing was messing with my child. And I was in that protection mode. And it wasn't like I was ever feeling like a man in the ring. It was more like I was always a woman defending whatever. So I never went that route of, you know, listen, when I was, and I don't talk about this much, me boxing, whatever, and it's another lifetime and whatever, it's so far behind. But my point is that when I went from being up here on a pedestal, you know, I had Angelo Dundee twice. That's the guy that trained Muhammad Ali. Twice went and saw my father and told him that he'd guarantee me a title shot. Anyway, the key that I'm getting at, if I would have turned pro, but my point is that it was very, very hard when I went from a pedestal and then when I transitioned, because in my situation, a lot of people go on hormones a year or two before they transition. A lot of people, no, I went from animal to whatever overnight. And with that being said, there was tremendous psychological, a lot of the things that I was talking about, the visualization and how I feel about myself. After boxing, I went through 2 years of hell, conscious of every single thing I did, everywhere I went. I mean, on and on and on. And it isn't like today where you can talk to people and I was in a little shell and nobody did anything about trans. I mean, Renee Richards was out, maybe somebody else. But what I'm saying is, it was a long struggle, but the thing is that I wanted to be my authentic self or I didn't want to live. So being it was so cut and dry, I put myself outside my comfort zone many times. And I got to where I started to flow with life again. Instead of being up here, cops pull me over. Oh, we won't give you a ticket. And then after I transitioned, it's more like, life was different. And other than, all the stuff that goes with that, what I'm saying is that the process of your self-image, if you're just starting to transition, is almost, now that I look back on life, is almost the same as pre-transition, as far as if you liked yourself before, but maybe you didn't. After you transition, if you can start liking yourself, all those pieces will come together, but it takes time, and it's not something that it doesn't happen that fast. And if it does for somebody, hey, you're the exception to the rule. Just hang in there, keep trying, do the visualization, feel good about yourself. Okay, so the more you transition, you hear a lot of people in the beginning when they transition, how rough their life is and this and that. But then you talk to them 5-10 years later after they've transitioned and they pass and life is good. And they all say, oh, I love life, And so many more transgender people are more successful after they transition than pre-transition because they feel good with themselves. What I'm saying is it's all got to do with a concept, building blocks, building the foundation. When I went from boxing to this, there was no foundation. The boxer had a foundation in a world that was 1,000 times different to the new world that I went into, and I had to learn. I'm still learning every day. What I'm trying to say is life is a journey, and see it as a journey and enjoy the journey. Hey, there's rough times and there's bad times and there can be good times and there can be on and on and on. But bottom line, when it's all said and done, what really only thing matters is, are you okay with you? Because if you're okay with you, all the other pieces will fall into place.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I answered your question, Christian.
Absolutely, Bonnie. Any more questions? Any more to throw in?
I just say this real quick. We trans people tend to stand out. It's just something about our energy and our essence, whether you're passable or not passable. We have a tendency, like when we're involved in something, we stand out. People remember us. And I had an incident recently where I saw a guy, he was working at the post office. We worked together many years ago, like probably 15 years ago. He remembered my name and he remembered the department I worked in. And when I asked him about other people we worked with, who are you talking about? And it was so funny. I walked out of the post office smiling. I'm like, damn, he couldn't remember anyone else, but he remembered me. So there you go. So that's why image is very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, with those words, thank you everybody for watching Transgurus. We'll be back, and follow us in Facebook and YouTube. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Everybody.
Have a good time.